So, hello everyone. Stefan already asked me if Christian said gray member of the community, so probably yes. As you might notice, I'm a little bit older and I know that thing from my time in school. So anyone else here who knows that little lovely thing?
Right. By everybody.
Yeah. So, probably also Stefan knows about it, so it's a great honor to be here and to talk with you about the origins of Shopware, with the origin of Shopware. And yeah, I think it's very great if you could tell us a little bit of where Shopware actually started.
Absolutely. So first of all, hi all. I'm very happy to be here. And yeah, not only, let's say, because of I have a few slides to show, I would also like to talk to you guys over the whole day. So I'm here, and let's say in all the breaks, let's make sure that we have good discussions today. And yeah, I brought a bit of, let's say, unseen pictures of the Shopware history. So some things that you probably never have seen before. And yeah, I'm pretty interested in, let's say, what you think about it. So let me start with the first picture. It's not the best quality, yeah, but you can see like me and my brother a few years ago, probably 20 years ago. And yeah, that was in the time basically where we decided to found our company. So it was not Shopware, it was Hamann Media GmbH back then. So it was more like an agency in the beginning. And that was basically really, I mean, we were not like that poor that we had to warm up in front of a fire. And basically, to be honest, the fire was added by Photoshop to make it a bit more dramatic.
So you also know Photoshop?
Yeah, I'm really a Photoshop crack, to be honest. So, sorry? Can
you push it up a little bit? Yeah, wait a second.
Okay, yeah. Now, also, to be really honest, my brother is a design guy in the family, and I'm the programming guy. And every time I tried something with Photoshop, I get killed by him, right? So, yes, and to make it a bit more, let's say, funny, so that you can think what was our discussion back then. It was basically not this discussion exactly, yeah, but a bit in this direction. And that is, by the way, in the garden of my grandmother back then. So it was basically that we founded the company, and then it was the first time in my child room. So beside my bed, like there was a computer, and every time a customer wanted to see something, he was like in my sleeping room. Yeah, it was not like the perfect setting. And my uncle had like a business in Schwepping in the town where we are also today, and that was like directly beside the garden. So that is basically the story of that picture.
Oh, that's great. So you said you're more the developer guy, so you basically started with creating Shopware yourself? So you were the one who wrote the first lines?
Yeah, basically, yes. I also brought the first lines with me, so we can have a look on it.
Do you want to show it?
Yeah, for sure. Also maybe before we, let's say, show code, that is also a bit of interesting. That is a picture of like this old office building, and the sign is like the first company logo. It was designed by my brother, yes, for sure, not by me. And the funny thing with this office building was, it was like in the winter, it was extremely cold. In the summer, it was extremely hot. Let's say if it was raining outside, then it was raining also inside. So it was completely crazy. Cool, the first lines. Yes. Also maybe not exactly the first lines, but it's a bit small, right? Or can you read it? Yeah. Can you zoom in? Where's the app to do so? Yeah, it's probably not super easy to read, but there's some interesting detail in it. Did you already see it?
So one thing that I will probably mention later, but I can't read what is already circled there. I can just see a .dll.
Yeah, it's
Sounds a bit
no?
weird, yeah, because
Yeah.
I used to work with Windows back then, and I remember DLL files to be the core of problems all the time.
Yeah, that is was also the core of problems over here. So it was basically, don't know, some decision. eBay back then had like on the homepage .dll file, and for some reason, don't know why, I decided it's looks really professional, so let's reconfigure Apache and also use .dll as like a file extension. And that was, let's say, very cool in the beginning, but let's say with the first customers, every time we had to explain, you have to reconfigure your Apache to make sure, let's say, Shopware is working. And I think we, sometime, before we released Shopware 3, basically, we changed it to PHP, so to be a bit more classical.
Cool. Quite nice for the developers back then.
Absolutely, yeah.
You just mentioned Shopware 3. What about the older versions? I do remember there was some kind of a press conference or something like that.
Yeah. That was, I mean, so to give you a bit of history of the Shopware versioning. So Shopware 1 was for sure the first version, right? And it was more like, was in the end a result of our agency work. So basically we had more and more customers that were interested into e-commerce, and then we decided we need some kind of framework to not, let's say, start all over again. And that was the birth hour of Shopware 1, so it was kind of a framework. It was not like a standard software or something. And Shopware 2 was the first official release. It was basically used by, don't know, 10, 20 merchants. And the interesting thing is, I think until last year, we still had one merchant running Shopware 2.
Whoa.
But, 10 years unpatched or something like that. And let's say in the version history of Shopware 2, we had a really interesting detail. Let me show you. It's always, don't know, always the same. Huh? Yeah, perfect. So there was some lost release, Shopware 2.1, and it was basically that we had already finished it, and we had already like a big event back then. Whoops. It was like our first big event where we, can you see it? Yeah, where we announced Shopware 2.1 and we presented it in every time, and then in the evening, after drinking some beer and talking with, let's say, the audience about their perception and everything, we decided spontaneously to rename it to Shopware 3. So that was basically the release of Shopware 3 then.
At least you didn't skip one like in PHP 6.
That's true, yeah. I think we have skipped 2 slides or something.
Do you want to show something else?
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, just to give you a feeling how it was back then, right? It was, it was really interesting. I mean, that was really the beginning. Two guys, one designer, one programmer, writing like on the first versions of Shopware. And then, for God's sake, a few months later, we got our first employees. So let's say grown from 2 to 3, 3 to 5, and so on. And that was really, really, really helping us back then. And it was also for me like a complete new experience that somebody else is looking on my code and saying something about it. It was not always easy, but important.
And the picture on the left is when you noticed that choosing .dll was not a good idea, and you have to
basically right. Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Cool.
Do you have any other kind of Leichen im Keller?
Yeah, a lot
Really?
of, yeah.
Oh, okay. That's creepy.
Yeah. Yeah, that was, for some reason, I thought back then we need a lot of, let's say, flexibility, so to change the core behavior of Shopware. And then it was probably the same night where we decided to go for Shopware 3. where, let's say, we decided to introduce a hook-based extension system that basically had 750 places, let's say, distributed over the complete source code of Shopware, where we used Evil to execute like code from the database, right?
Oh.
And that was, back then, we thought, a genius idea. But in production, let's say, besides security, that is one aspect. Second aspect was that it was not possible anymore to use any of this bytecode optimization because of, let's say, if you execute code in the runtime, then for sure it cannot be optimized before, right? Yeah, so bad idea. Think twice before you introduce something like that. But also, yeah, a good learning for me.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Absolutely, yeah.
Anything else that was interesting about the code back then? Any decisions that you had to make and that you think probably over the time the transition made you make changes for it because you thought, okay, probably it's not the up-to-date stuff anymore?
Absolutely. I mean, in general, in that.
Oh yeah, I do remember XJS.
Yeah.
I once had to touch base with Shopware 5 and had my fun with XJS.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful that we have Shopware 6 now. Just saying.
Yeah, I think there's still a fan base around.
Absolutely, yeah.
Are there people here that love XJS?
That's not that much hands.
Not so many, okay.
Who likes the new approach more? It's interesting. So it was a good decision this time, you see?
Absolutely. And that basically was also in the beginning, right? Also one of the, let's say, key features, even of Shopware 1 was like this Windows system in the administration, that you can move around the windows and something like that. And that was back then, let's say, also it was not obvious or something, it was really a bit of work, and we decided to use MooTools for it. So it was a JavaScript framework back then, and that was not a wise decision. I really now, let's say, we heavily discussed using MooTools or jQuery, and then it was about, okay, what will probably be, let's say, the new standard or something like that, right? And then, as it is, we decided for MooTools, and jQuery was basically a month later or something the new rising star in the JavaScript world. So that is a bit of, it's even more complex today, to be honest, if you see how fast the whole AI space is developing, for instance. So it's really, really hard to make good decisions over there. So also something where I believe you as a community, so it's super helpful for us to get into interaction to make sure that we make wise decisions in directions of technologies and frameworks.
Especially for the JavaScript and backend stuff. I don't know where Ramona is. You are talking about that stuff today, aren't you? Yeah, in a minute more or less. So right after us. Okay, that's awesome.
I have one last slide.
Yeah, sure.
As long
as no one is trying to push us off the ground, that's fine.
Okay, perfect. Just an invitation for today, for the evening. Do you know the Balmer curve? So it's something that I tried often, and it basically really works. And that is also something I want to try together with you guys in the evening. So let's drink a beer together or some other drink. Yeah, doesn't has to be a beer, and let's try if it is also working today. Yeah, thank you very much.